Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the One-on-One Webcast. I'm Andrew Vendelis.
And I'm Matt Holzapfel. We have a fantastic show for you today, but first, Andrew and I step into the batter's box for the 3 strikes.
Aaron Judge just broke Babe Ruth's club record for home runs in a season, and he's already netted over 50 runs in his young career. After a quiet August, people were worried that Judge might have cooled down. But the rookie has capped off the season with dazzling fireworks. With all this in mind, Matt, do you think Judge's good run of form will help the Yankees push for the Commissioner's Trophy?
I really do. I think that when you have a superstar like Judge with the star power, with the power at the bat, it really is help push the team forward. And it's not just him, obviously, it's Sanchez, and it's the pitching who's really been a revelation of late. And I think that he's going to help them. I don't think they're going to make it to the World Series. I think they will win their wild card game against the Twins. I think he'll help them move on. But I think as a rookie, he did all they can ask for, honestly.
Exactly, and you've really found your franchise player for the future, and that
Absolutely.
does help you in the future years for the Yankees. But 2017 just has too many quality teams, especially in the AL. I mean, if they get through the Twins, which they most likely will, they have to go against the Cleveland Indians, who are my pick, I think, to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I have them getting to the World Series, too.
I just think it's too many hoops to jump through.
The lack of other weapons besides Judge, at least consistent weapons, is what's going to hurt them in the end. And, pitching has been on and off. That's going to happen. But when you have people who aren't hitting consistently besides one person who didn't even hit consistently for the whole season, That's going to be their downfall, I think.
He had a hot run, and the other team isn't catching up to him. The rest of the team, rather, isn't catching up to him, and I think that's just not enough to save them.
I will say this, though. He's definitely brought the Bombers back to Bronx Bombers. I think the fans love that, obviously, with All Rise in the Judge section. The fans love that, and he's really brought that spark back to Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. So I think going forward, that's going to be huge. NBA teams recently voted 28-1 to change the draft lottery rules, which will go into effect for the 2019 NBA draft. The reform will see the top 3 teams having equal odds of attaining the first pick and increased odds for teams 5 through 10. Houston Rockets GM Daryl Morey tweeted out, @Sam Hinkie, tanking is solved. Andrew, is Morey right? Is tanking solved?
As comical of a tweet as that was, I don't think it's solved, but rather improved. And while it does devalue some the values in tanking, say finishing in the bottom 3, there will be a new way to tank. I think there are going to be a bunch of loopholes, and spots 6 through 10, when I looked at it, jumped percentages from 1.9 to 3.2. So there's definitely a new market for tanking. It might not be the top 3, but I think there are just different levels of availability
I don't think
now.
tanking will ever be solved, at least not in the next few years. But I think it is a step in the right direction, because you're not just going to have one team who's miles ahead of everyone else saying they're guaranteed basically to get the top pick.
In a way, it's like a little bit competitive now. They're competing to tank, so that's at least
at the top
a
for
good
the championship, competition at the bottom for the first pick.
Yeah.
And also giving teams 5 through 10 an increased chance to get that first pick. We could see a team who is the 10th worst record in the NBA get the first pick. Something we've haven't seen in the NBA in maybe forever.
Exactly, because you see some of these stars that get drafted number 1 through number 3 just kind of float off into nothing off of being just these mediocre teams. But I think some teams will check out, but we'll just have to see how it goes.
Exactly.
There have been a lot of shakeups in the NFL as of late, but one team's performance has caused double takes across the league. The New York Giants, not the Jets, currently sit at 0-4 with no win in sight. The question is this Eli Manning's fault or Ben McAdoo's?
It's not Eli Manning's fault. And I think all you have to do is watch their last game against the Buccaneers and see he had 3 touchdowns, no picks, including that beautiful 14-yard run. You look at Ben McAdoo, the play calling is questionable. The acquisitions, maybe that's more the front office, but it's questionable. When they don't draft an offensive lineman, which is arguably their biggest weakness, until the 6th round, that's a problem. And when you need to go out there looking for people, Adrian Peterson was available. He mentioned he was interested in New York. They didn't get him. Paul Perkins has struggled. The lack of a run game really hurts Eli a lot.
But that doesn't all fall on McAdoo per se. But even if you have bad play calling from your offensive coordinator, from McAdoo, you got to rely on Eli Manning, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, nevertheless, to really step up. And you can't blame it on McAdoo, because last year they finished 11-5 and at least made it to the playoffs. I mean, the past 5 years they finished, the past 4 years rather, they've finished below 500. And of course,
which begs the question: what did he do last year that he didn't do this year? And obviously there were injuries and replacements.
What did McAdoo or what did Eli
do? McAdoo. What did he do? What's different? And Eli, he hasn't been elite in a few years. Maybe occasional game here and there. I think also the play calling, when you see them run a draw on 3rd and 8 and stuff like that.
Well,
That's
they don't have the strong. They don't have the strong running game. They have like
Because
Shane
they didn't
Vereen
get
and Paul
anybody.
Perkins.
Because they
Yeah,
have
and they
Paul
spent it.
Perkins.
They spent it on Brandon Marshall, who's a dud, and Odell Beckham Jr. has
As bad
had
as
that
it is
injury.
to say, the
and
biggest
been
spark
held
to their
down.
offense this Sunday was Paul Perkins getting injured. Wayne Gallman actually provided a bit of a spark, the rookie from Clemson. So, just showing that the Perkins getting hurt was a little bit of a spark for the offense means that they really need to do something, and they really didn't.
Yeah, but we just have to keep in mind that Eli Manning's been strung along. It's kind of like the Joe Flacco effect. He had those 2 great years, and now he's just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
And I think the more weapons, it's all about elevating your players. And when Brandon Marshall, you can't elevate him to the status that he once was. I think it's more on Eli.
Obviously, the Giants need to get something figured out and quick. Stick around as Andrew is joined by NBA experts Evan Abenstein and Kiva Schneider as we hand out grades for this offseason.